T-minus 10, 9, 8,
The clock is
7.
operating. We're underway.
Tranquility Base here.
Endeavor, go at throttle up.
There's J3, 4, and 5. The bales look like they're in good shape. No apparent MMOD damage or anything. Turn this way so you can see the there's the ammonia lines and
yeah, that looks good, Wheels. If you want to just check the other two lines, other electrical lines.
after that.
Now 42 minutes into today's spacewalk, Doug Wheelock is checking the condition of all the fluid connections and electrical connections on the failed pump module.
Again, they look fully mated, no damage, no discoloration or anything.
I copy, Wheels. So if you're ready, we're ready for you to go ahead and release the TA clamps.
And we've temporarily lost our signal through the tracking and data relay satellite system as the spacewalk continues for Doug Wheelock and Tracy Caldwell Dyson. Team here in Mission Control continuing to follow along with the activities on orbit as the space station orbits about 220 statute miles over Ontario.
I'll give you another shot of J1 and J2. It looks like they're in good shape. No apparent MMOD damage. No discoloration. It looks like the mate is clean and no damage.
Okay, I copy, Wheels. I think we're ready to go ahead and jump into the pump module. So our next task is to release the 3 TA clamps on M1, M2, and M3. Do not do M4.
After that.
And Wheels and Tracy, we have helmet cam back.
Okay. Copy. Looking for the best orientation to get back into those TA clamps. Oscar, standby.
I'm sorry, Wheels. What did you say?
The TA clamps are kind of buried back in there, so I'm just looking for a good access.
Okay, copy.
I might, Beth might be inside the truss over here at this empty spot. I think I can come in behind this MLI, so.
Okay. And Wills, you can expect your bat volt decay message in 5 minutes. You can ignore.
Roger.
Also, just an update. I've got the bag on my BRT ready to it. I got to do a little reconfig here because the rubber bag is actually attached to the port bag.
I see what you're saying. I copy.
Okay, it's attached to the eyelet.
It's a good view of Doug Wheelock as he works at the S1 work site of the truss structure at the failed pump module. He's working with some clamps on the interior of the truss structure, trying to get himself oriented so he could reach inside there and release those clamps that held the hoses that contain the ammonia fluid.
Okay, that's it.
Trying to find some good access to the PA clamps.
These are not the quick disconnects that actually connect the fluid lines to the pump itself. They are some clamps that hold the lines in place farther inside the truss structure.
Okay.
Got the fat decay message.
I copy, Wills.
I'm still going to put on my glove first.
Okay. And Tracy, you're putting on your glove heaters. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sir. And I've got my bag, and I'm looking around. Looks like it looks clean. I'm gonna start heading up.
Copy, Tracy. And Tracy, we have you doing one fair lead up at the top of the cedar spur, and when you get up there, I'll give you a handrail number.
Great.
How you doing, TC?
I'm good, Will. How you doing?
Doing good. These TA clamps are a little bit more hidden than what I expected them, but working it. Okay, Oscar, just went starboard of the PA clamps, and there you can see them now. Just had to get a little bit of access.
Right, I can see him now.
There's M4, and I'm going to stay away from that one.
Thank you very much.
This is a look from Tracy Caldwell Dyson's helmet camera as she begins to move from the Quest airlock module's exterior hand over hand using a special connection rail that was installed to allow ease of EVA access to the truss structure from the airlock module.
I think it was a good idea you guys had of having wheels go port with a safety turn.
Good.
M2 released, TA clamp.
She's translating over to the port side of the crew equipment translation aid cart where she will begin configuring a work interface fixture for a articulating portable foot restraint that will help her help Doug Wheelock as he works a little bit later on from the end of the robotic arm.
And I'm on 3413 now.
Copy, Tracy.
Okay, after TA clamps are all released on those 1, 2, and 3, and I just peeled back the MOI on this side. I'll go ahead and put it back so it's shielded a little bit.
Okay, I copy. Hey, Will's only one thing to think about, you know, when we go to move those lines off, will Tracy need to gain access to pull those lines back out of the clamps? That's the only thing to think about, I think.
Yeah, actually, and I think this front face, I don't know if you can see it in the camera here, the front face is all Velcro, so it should be easy to just pull it back.
Okay, okay.
I'll sort of leave it in place right now so it doesn't get a little too unwieldy.
Okay, looks good.
Again, Doug Wheelock working his way into the interior of the S1 truss structure so that he can release some clamps that are holding the fluid hoses, those ammonia hoses. That'll allow him and Tracy Caldwell Dyson a little bit later to have more flexibility with those hoses as they are releasing the quick disconnects and moving them away from the failed pump module so that they can remove it and put the new pump module in place.
But let us know.
Roger.
There are 4 of these clamps, 3 of them on the liquid hoses and on the large liquid hoses and 1 on the small one.
And Tracy, just a reminder, that's the TUS reel right there, so be careful of that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Oscar, on the P clamps, I'm remembering Alpha 6 counterclockwise 2.
Alpha 6 counterclockwise 2.
And this is a look at Doug Wheelock's helmet camera as he works with a pistol grip tool, essentially a battery-powered drill mechanism with a socket set on it that he'll be using to release those clamps, so it'll allow those hoses to be manipulated as they remove them.
Beautiful.
A little bit later on the spacewalk. We're now 53 minutes into today's spacewalk.
Stand by.
And Will, just a reminder, we are not releasing M4.
Roger that.
Will's safety tether right here in front of me. wondering if I shouldn't tack it down on the rail here.
I think you're okay doing that because, you know, Will's is going to jump on the arm here, so.
Yeah, I'm going to put a 4-man fair leader around some bolts. That'll work.
Okay, Oscar, on M1 turning.
Copy. Should be 12 to 14 turns.
Roger.
Oscar, I'm going to be stowing this EM jumper bag on the front of the pump module, right?
Right, you stow it so it can be moved right on top of the QDs, and basically you're going to put a large small to the zenith handrail and a large small ret to the nadir handrail, and then that should allow you guys to slide it back and forth out of the way as you need to.
Okay.
14 turns, Oscar, on M1, turning on M2.
Copy.
Doug Wheelock continuing to work with his pistol grip cordless drill tool, using a socket on the end of that drill to release these clamps, loosening up the hoses so that they'll be able to better work with the quick disconnects and disconnect those from the fittings on the failed pump module. He has completed the release of the first and is working on the second of 4.
Sorry, Will.
We had a brief glitch on the EVA duration clock. We're now back up with an accurate clock, and it stands at 58 minutes and 26 seconds into today's spacewalk.
And Tracy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the hook that you just attached for the jumper bag, you need to move that just starboard, so it's on the other side of that stanchion, so it'll slide all the way over on top of the QDs.
I gotcha.
See right in the center of that hammer?
Good call.
Yep.
Yep, I see it. I was just trying to give Wheels enough room.
Is he being a hog there? Worksite hog?
No, he just got here first, that's all.
Tracy Caldwell Dyson there in the spacesuit without any stripes on the legs, joining Doug Wheelock at the failed pump module area after completing her work on the crew equipment translation aid cart setup.
I copy. M2 released.
And Doug Wheelock releasing the second of 3 brackets that he's going to be loosening up.
If I come zenith, let me turn my body, DC, so you can, underneath me here.
Oh,
That would help you out, yeah?
a little bit, yeah. Right now I'm just trying to make room on a short cell phone here to get that fun. Hey, Oscar, the integrated reds that are integrated hooks that are on the bag, I've got them attached. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last.
Disregard.
Tracy,
Oh, disregard. Disregard. I've got a ret to the handrail of the pump module to the bag.
Okay.
Taking off my BRT.
We're now just over an hour in this spacewalk's planned 7-hour duration. Doug Wheelock releasing the third clamp that is holding the hoses that are associated with the quick disconnects and the ammonia fluid lines for this faulty pump. It's a good overview look here. You can see the data connections in the center of your screen, which are the narrower cables, and then to the right with the white insulation on them are the disconnects that they'll be releasing a little bit later on to remove the pump.
All the threads are out.
I copy. So you do see that the bolt popped up?
Yes.
Okay, I copy. So I copy M1, M2, and M3 are released.
Roger.
And if you have room with Tracy there, we can go ahead and start on the spids. It's your call.
Okay.
Gotta figure out how I'm gonna weave this bag around. So are you getting into the cool-off bag there?
In just a second, I will.
So at 7:21 a.m. Central Time, Doug Wheelock completed the release of those 3 clamps for the fluid hoses that he's going to be working on, given the go-ahead to start working with the quick disconnects.
No, not yet. I gotta put this thing up to the top handrail, and I'm trying to negotiate your safety tether as well as the cool-off bag, which is on board of it. So, over the top of your safety tether, but underneath the So are you able to go in or outboard with starboard?
I can, yes.
Yeah, if we could just get your footer past that. Okay. Now, you have just one hook on the crew-off bag there? And maybe it says rope.
Okay, I had the integrated adjustable, or the tether on there, and also had the large, small.
Okay, if you could take that bag that's in your hand right now, the jumper bag,
Okay.
I'm going to push the bag out.
Stand by. It's still tethered on that side, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah, I want it to go underneath.
I see.
Got it tethered on the other side, because I can release the tether on my side. And of the tether, tether wrapped around a handrail.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to release this tether right here momentarily.
Okay.
Okay, and now, back up. I got it.
You got it?
I got the two. Oh. That up there. Now, where's that?
I want to try to turn the bag so the
Okay.
doors are facing out. So.
There we go. Oh. Okay.
And Oscar, for the temp stowing of the skids, would you rather than be inside of the truss, or?
Wills, it doesn't matter, but before you start on the spids, let's double check that we believe the config is all of the spids are wire tied together, and then that bundle is wire tied to one of the bail handles. So you might want to confirm that that is the config so that we don't fool ourselves and end up losing some spids.
Yes, I could verify that they're all wire tied together, and they're actually around two of the bales. They're around the M1 bale and the M2 bale.
Okay, I copy.
I don't know if you can see my helmet cams.
It's a little hard for us to see in the helmet cam, but as long as you're confident that when you're removing wire ties, they're still tied off.
Yes.
Okay. So you want to wire tie to the wire tie that is bundling all the skids together, and then you've got to go to remove the other wire ties.
Okay. Let me rewind a little bit, Oscar. There's actually only one wire tie, and all of the skids looks like the cable on each one of the skids is captured by that wire tie, and that wire tie is also around two of the bales, M2 and M1.
I copy.
Okay, so for instance, I could disconnect the skid on M3 right now, and it would be completely free and clear of a skid, and it would be that skid would be tethered off to the other two on 1 and 2. So what I was thinking is I can go ahead and set up like use my long wire tie and set up another wire tie sort of offsite a little bit, and then tie those off on that wire tie together.
And Wills, go ahead.
No, I'm just want to make sure I'm on the same sheet of music as you, Oscar.
Yeah, and Wills,
tell me what you guys are thinking, and then I'll.
Yeah, Wills, we think we understand your plan, and we're okay with that. Just so long as you feel comfortable that when you remove them, that they're always tethered, and you can stow them in any way you want.
Okay. But we're going to stow them outside in the truss area, right?
Yes. Just as long as they're out of the way.
Roger that. Okay.
Hey, Oscar, is my next step to vent the jumper?
So I didn't catch what you were saying, Tracy, but your next task is you're going to be heading out to the port cheetah cart.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to work your way by Wheels, and when you get over there, Tracy, give me a glove check.
Okay. Safety reel is really something. Bill, are you at a good point where you could go Venus a little ways?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay. And be aware of my safety tether. I think it's going to Pretty bumping.
Okay, how's that?
I see.
Will this work for you, TC?
I'm looking.
Okay,
Get close enough. Got a hand. Right.
You're clear. Looks like you're clear. You got that other crew lock bag right there, Leia.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great.
Wills and Tracy?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, we read somewhere you guys are go for EVA, that increment 24 is go for EVA.
After that, we probably should have got that go before we left the hatch, huh?
No, that looks good.
Okay, Oscar, can you give me a big picture? I think I'm taking the APFR from WISP 2 to WISP 1 here.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to configure the... Yeah, we're going from WISP 2 to WISP 1.
Okay.
But before you get the APFR, I'm going to... Yeah, before you grab the APFR, we'll need to configure this pitch-off fitting at WISP 1, so it's ready for you to put the APFR in.
Okay.
So, but before we start, if you can give me a glove check,
oh, yeah.
please.
I sure can. My left glove looks real good.
It looks good, does it?
Okay. Right glove looks good too.
Copy? Two good
Just
gloves.
get out here. Yep.
Okay, so on the pitch-off fitting, you're going to want to go to a setting, and this is on WISP 1, should be the port nadir swing arm. You're going to go to a setting of Golf 6.
Golf 6.
That's correct. And before you adjust the pitch, look at the buttons, because you're going to need to verify that the buttons have popped all the way out when you're done. So just see about how far the button's out, and then when you redo it, we'll have you check again.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's Golf 6.
Golf 6. Oh, I see. What's key there? It's already on Golf.
This is Mission Control Houston, now an hour and 15 minutes into today's planned 7-hour spacewalk to replace a failed pump unit as part of the cooling system on the exterior of the International Space Station. Tracy Caldwell-Dyson and Doug Wheelock moving along and doing a good job of keeping on the timeline for their tasks. Both of them working at the S1 area of the truss structure as they prepare to remove the failed pump module from the cooling system.
In other words, where the same truss member that the P-clamps were just disconnected from, down at the very bottom where it meets the cedar rail, the truss thins out there gets a little bit thinner. I'm going to wrap a long wire tie around there and temp sew those skids inside of the truss on that truss member.
I copy, Wills. That sounds like a good plan.
Oscar, the pitch just setting.
It's set at Golf 6?
We're good, and Golf 6, yes.
Okay. You're retrieving the APFR from the nadir starboard swing arm. Should be whiff 2. And when you grab it, let me know when you're ready to install it, and I've got it clocking for you.
Okay.
So you're moving from whiff 2 to whiff 1.
Copy that. Got some buoyancy.
Need a way out?
I need a way out.
A little shout out to all the guys out there at the MBL. Thanks.
That's right.
Just like in the pool, except for that big blue planet down there.
And Wheels, that handrail that you're on right now looks a little rough to us. Just be aware of sharp edges. If you see anything, let us know.
Copy that. And Oscar, I don't know if you could see my helmet key on this wire tie, but it's at the bottom of that structural member. I've got a couple wraps on it.
I see.
I'll just plan on feathering those skids to there. So.
Okay, sounds good. Before we start on the spids, I got another warning. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. If you're ready for a warning?
Ready.
As we continue to look at helmet cameras, pictures from Doug Wheelock's spacesuit, we're now an hour and 18 minutes into today's spacewalk, and he is in position in the area of the failed ammonia pump that's going to be replaced on this spacewalk, working with the spool positioning devices, which were added to a number of these quick disconnect fittings around the space station's truss structure through a series of EVAs early in the station's assembly. These spool positioning devices, or SPIDs as they're called, secure the quick disconnects in a position that enables them to function a little bit better. It was a problem that was noticed after the original design of the quick disconnects, and those SPIDs were added on to the various quick disconnects around the space station on a series of spacewalks all the way back to the earlier expeditions. As part of this EVA, Doug Wheelock will be removing those spool positioning devices from the connections that he's going to be disconnecting and tethering them nearby for reattachment when the new pump is installed.
Forward, if you would, maybe 30 feet or so.
Local. Now rotate with the APFR.
This is Mission Control Houston. spacewalkers stepping through their task to get ready for the removal of the ammonia pump that is failed on board the International Space Station, so they can replace it with a ready spare. All systems working well on the spacewalk. The International Space Station work taking place about 220 statute miles over the northern Pacific Ocean. This particular orbital pass is going to be taking the space station over the Pacific Northwest, and there's a possibility that folks out there on the coast can have a good sighting of the International Space Station. Today's sighting opportunity is going to begin for Seattle residents, for example, at about 4:54 a.m. Central Time, or pardon me, Pacific Time, and the maximum elevation for the space station will be about 30 degrees above the horizon. It's going to show up about 15 degrees above the south-southwest and move to about 17 degrees above the east, so a fairly good sighting opportunity for the folks in the Pacific Northwest as the station gets ready to pass overhead. Those details for your area are available on the internet at spaceflight.nasa.gov/realdata/sightings.
Okay, Oscar, on the APFR on the arm, I've got a setting of 12 Fox, Fox, Fox 12, yeah?
That's correct.
Both spacewalkers now readying their portable foot restraints that will be used to anchor them for the upcoming removal of the old pump module from the S1 truss structure. Caldwell Dyson setting hers up on a working interface fixture on the truss structure, and Wheelock setting his up on the end of the robotic arm. He'll be using that robotic arm as a giant crane to move the old pump module out of the truss structure and temporarily stow it on the outside of the station, and then go off and retrieve the replacement pump from the external stowage platform that's on the outside of the Quest airlock module and bring it back and put it in place. So far, today's spacewalk 2 hours and 10 minutes into duration, expected to last about 7 hours total. It is the 148th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance.
Oscar?
Go ahead, Tracy.
You want me to finish setting up my APFR?
Yes, ma'am, if you could.
Okay. I'm going to have to release the wire ties here on the port side because the swing arm is in the way.
Okay, we copy.
So was the plan that I would straighten the arms and then...
Right, so what you'll do is release the...
deployed?
Yep, you'll release the wire ties, straighten the arm out, and then you'll have to deploy that sleeve over that locks the arm straight out, and then you'll lay the arms parallel to the truss.
Okay.
Hey, Tracy, stand by. We're talking about what we really need you to undo. We may not need you to deploy the arms out. What we're trying to determine, can we fold the arms down without untying the two arms from each other?
You know, if the one that's
Yes. So
the most in my way is the NATO one.
Okay. So Tracy, we got a plan. You can leave the two arms tied together. So you see where they're tied up by the knob right there. Leave that wire tie. I think if you release the wire ties that are holding the arm back to the seated cart, and I can see one at the TFR, release that wire tie, and I'm not sure it's another one, then that should allow you to swing the two arms parallel to the truss down out of your way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure does.
So from my view, it looks like you have one wire tie you maybe need to release to allow you to...
There's one on H grid and on the seated cart that I need to undo as well.
And guys, we're about 1 minute from ready comm. We'll be ready for the next 4 minutes.
Okay.
Copy.
Oscar, do you have video? I was going to see if you give me a look over the shoulder on this APFR. It looks like it's got a little bit of play in it, though, and I think that's normal, yeah?
That's normal. That's better than what you see in the pool.
Okay, copy. Okay, give me a couple tug tests here.
And can you confirm that you're black on black?
Black on black confirmed, and clocking at 12, and good tug test.
Copy. So Wills, you have a go to go ahead and swap your safety tether to the lee. If you want to do that now.
That's right.
Hey, Oscar, if I'm just taking off one end of this wire tie, I don't really need to ret to it, do I? The other end is wound around the TFR.
Yep. If you can tell that it's tied to the handle, and you're just going to release where it's tied to the grid, you don't need the rest of it.
Okay.
Hey, Wills and Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see your helmet cam's off, Tracy. We think maybe the on-off button got bumped. So if you want to, hey, Wills, can you see Tracy from where you are? Oh, we got it. Thank you.
I can reach it.
We have your helmet cam back.
Okay.
This is Mission Control Houston, now receiving helmet camera views from Tracy Caldwell Dyson once again as she was configuring these portable foot restraints to the work interface facilities. She apparently bumped the button, the on-off button on her helmet camera. She was able to reach it and push the button back in, and so now we're good to go with those helmet camera views.
And I'm going to go ahead and leave.
Communications and tracking officer reports we're in an area of ratty communications now. Should be, we may see communications going in and out.
Said that my glove heaters were on.
Copy.
My visor is still up. My lights are on.
Copy. We got a daylight pass coming up here.
I copy. Yeah, my visor's down.
Copy. Visor down.
Like, almost like threading a needle here. Trying to get an adjustable around me without grabbing the line.
And Will's, just a reminder for M4, the horseshoe tool does not fit on that QD.
Roger that.
You'll get to use it in a little bit.
Just getting it situated.
Okay.
And Will's, while you're there, I'm sorry, Tracy,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, just trying to get the adjustable between the lines. I think I'm bumping up against your helmet there, Will.
Yes. Need to move. I can lean back up just a little bit.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're now 3 hours and 40 minutes into today's spacewalk by Doug Wheelock and Tracy Caldwell Dyson. They're getting ready to begin a very specific sequence of demating these quick disconnect devices that hold the ammonia cooling loops to the pump module. This is designed to prevent any kind of a major leak of ammonia so that they can have as much of this ammonia retained within the Loop A cooling system as possible. Crew needs to make sure while we're here in daylight to shade these quick disconnect valves.
Okay, I copy. Should have it on.
For about a minute immediately after the valve is closed.
Yep.
Okay, I think, Trace, we're ready for you to go ahead and ingress your APFR.
Okay.
And then we'll jump right into demating QDs.
ask how we're doing on the timeline?
You guys are doing fine on the timeline. We're good.
Okay. Open out here.
Caldwell-Dyson has now finished her work with the tethers associated with these ammonia lines and is getting ready to put her feet back into the portable foot restraint that's attached to the crew equipment translation aid cart so that she can work with Wheelock on the disconnection of these quick disconnect devices on the end of the ammonia lines. You can see her wedging her feet into the foot restraint now.
And Wills, once Tracy's in position, we're going to demate M4.
Roger that. Handling only by the connector end, right?
I think I'm in. Well, can you tell or no? I'm behind you.
Let's see. You just back to your left just a little bit. Right to your,
I feel like
right
I'm
to your heels. Yeah.
What?
I can't quite see your heels.
Okay. Feels like I'm in. Kicking my feet all around and you first come with me.
Yeah, and Tracy, we got a view from the arm. We don't see your heels moving when you move around there. So it looks good to us, but we don't have a great view.
Okay. What's processing? Good.
So you ready? Everybody ready?
I'm ready.
We're ready, Oscar.
Okay, so we're on M4. We want to check the side loads. On M4, check the side loads prior to demate.
Okay, and I'm just rechecking the P-clamp, and that bolt is released, so...
Hey, Oscar, what, am I just stabilizing the M4?
This is Mission Control, Houston, 3 hours, 45 minutes into today's spacewalk, and we're about to begin removing the first of the quick disconnects that connect the cooling loops to this pump module assembly. Doug Wheelock is about ready to remove number 4 in the sequence. That'll be the first of the quick disconnects to be removed.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I'll see you.
Okay, so Wills, are you ready?
Good, Oscar.
So you check the side
I'm
loads?
ready, Oscar.
Okay, you're ready to...
Side loads, look. Yeah.
Okay, you got to go to demate the QD. Pull back on the release ring and demate the QD. Okay, check the release ring is retracted and forward wideband not visible.
Release ring is retracted, forward wideband not visible.
Copy. And Will,
coming straight off.
since Tracy can't reach the QD, we'd like you to reach as far starboard as you can, which may not be very far. So don't handle it by the QD itself. There you go. And now you can move it out of the way.
Okay, coming clear. See this P clamp, there we go. Okay, PC here is coming toward you. Okay. Got it there? I got it, but
Good job.
we're just pinstowing it, right, until...
That's right. We're just letting it stow itself.
Okay, yeah. I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Gonna let it... Oscar sort of just kind of hangs out. It comes station forward about a foot, and then it's just kind of hanging there.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. And guys, if it's not... Yeah, if it's not in your way, we've got to go ahead and press. So if it's not in your way, we're going to start on M3.
Before we do M3, I think I need to be BRT because...
This is Mission Control Houston, the first of the 4 connections successfully released by spacewalker Doug Wheelock at the 10:04 a.m. Central Time. We're now 3 hours, 47 minutes into today's spacewalk, and we're getting ready to release the second of the quick disconnects.
I changed the pitch on this APFR, but still I think that's going to put my helmet right into the structural member here, so...
Tracy Caldwell Dyson at hand there to help manage these hoses when the quick disconnects are disconnected, and going to connect the body restraint tether to help anchor herself in the area.
Yeah, right.
That'll actually get you perpendicular to the lines as well.
And Wills, do you want to start on M3 while Tracy resets herself?
Sure. Yes. Sure.
Okay. So we're closing the valve on M3, not demating yet. So if you're ready, I've got your steps.
Ready.
Check aft white band visible.
So Doug Wheelock now will move on to the quick disconnect that is immediately adjacent to the one he just removed.
Button fully installed.
Okay, check button is up.
Button is up.
Check button can be depressed.
Button can be depressed.
Check your side loads.
Everything looks clear. The P clamp is released, and it looks like we're
okay, copy.
no side loads.
Okay. Push the bell toward the open position with significant force while depressing the button.
That's complete.
Okay, copy. Okay, remember this is where we want to be careful of the kickback, so you're using just your palm. So depress the detent button. Okay, depress the detent button and move the bell aft to the closed position.
Get a little more leverage here, Oscar. Definitely no kickback, Oscar.
I copy.
I might have to get the bail lever too.
So you
Get
pass.
this thing moving.
Okay. Are you past where you need to press the buttons? Is the button staying down?
The button looks like it's staying down.
Okay. Stand by.
I could just try to reposition to get a better leverage, Oscar, if that's, and I'll just stand by.
Stand by, Wills.
Roger.
Not a whole lot of places for out there.
Okay, Wills, we got... Okay, Wills, we got to go to use the lever tool. When you install the lever tool, don't install it between the two levers. Put it on the forward side of the lever.
Spacewalker Doug Wheelock working to release the first of the ammonia quick disconnect devices, but so far unable to do that with just his palm, as had been the original plan. He's got the button to press that does the initial release, but has so far been unable to push the lever up that would close the valve. So he's been given the go-ahead by Oscar Kaler, the Intravehicular Activity Support Officer here in Mission Control, to grab the lever tool and put it on the handle there so that he can get some additional leverage and close that valve. Valve has to be closed before he goes on to actually remove the disconnect from the pump module.
Hey, Wills. Wills, you need to flip the tool 180. There you go.
Yep.
And Wills, it looks, are you getting handle movement?
Nothing.
Okay. We probably need to verify that the button is all the way down. So what you'll need to do is push the button down and move the handle forward. And you can use the tool while you're doing this.
Roger that. Okay, the handle's full forward now, full open, and the button can't be depressed.
Right, we can see that. And Wills, hold for a handover. We got a short handover coming up.
Okay.
About 50 seconds.
This is Mission Control Houston. Doug Wheelock being asked to hold off on any further work with this quick disconnect while we do a handover from one communications satellite to the next. International Space Station currently traveling overhead of the Great Lakes region on a southeasterly track over Pennsylvania and Virginia, as he and Tracy Caldwell Dyson continue their work to remove the ammonia connections from the failed pump module so that they can move it out of the way and then eventually replace it with a new pump module that's currently on the external stowage platform number 2. We are now just under 4 hours into this planned 7-hour spacewalk.
Okay, Oscar, I think I'm ready.
So Tracy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, first step is to rotate the locking collar to the unlocked position. And again, using the little bosses is probably the easiest way to do that.
Okay, unlocked.
Okay, press the detent button and push the bell to the forward position.
Button deeper.
Okay, push the bell to the forward position.
Copy. Button. Press.
Good job.
Wheel is full forward, white aft bands visible.
Very good.
Button is up.
Button is up. Okay, go ahead and rotate the locking collar back to the locked position.
Mark.
Nice job, DC.
Oh. Okay. Locking collar's in the left position.
Copy.
Hey, Oscar.
Okay, Wills and Tracy,
We're ready, Oscar.
we're ready to go ahead and put the jettison storage bag over the pump module jumper box.
After that?
Getting that.
Copy, Tracy.
This is Mission Control Houston. Spacewalker Tracy Caldwell Dyson successfully completing the connection of that cooling line to the jumper box. That puts us in a good configuration with one of the 1.5-inch diameter quick disconnect ammonia lines and a 1/2-inch quick disconnect cooling line connected up to that jumper box. They'll now put a bag over that to shroud it from temperature extremes outside the International Space Station's truss structure. She continues to work there with Doug Wheelock, who's on the end of the Space Station's Canadarm2, restraining the jumper box for that final connection.
Once you get it, TC, I can help you unfurl it. So.
Okay. So they're on it, right? I got it on my Twitter.
We can work together on it, yeah. Just keep the tether on it. No.
Yep.
And remember, when we wire tie this, we're wire tying just to the larger line.
Copy that.
Nice bag. I wonder who made it.
Nice.
That bag's got good side loads, too. That was good.
loads again. Okay, little stocking stuffer there.
Nice work on the bag there, Shannon.
Good job on the bag, guys.
You see the wire tie TC down there?
Yeah, I gotta get down a little lower.
If you want to release your rep, I've got the bag.
That's the bag?
You want to get a one wrap on it first?
Yeah, let me find got the other piece of,
To your right. The other wire tie.
I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Done something here. Yeah. Inner bag is, wait, I think it's hooked on the handrail. Could you grab the bag there at the handrail and move it so, isn't there a handrail on that box there at the very end of it?
One on either side.
Can't grab a hold of the bag and take the...
It's all the way down over the top.
Yes, sorry. Hanging up inside. Just that the wire tie is not reaching all the way to... Coming around the corner. Where's this corner right here? The corner that's innermost?
I can't.
Okay.
Got it?
Bag is, I'm still on. Oh. But you're holding on to the handrail, aren't you? Of the bag in the box.
Well, I just was holding the bag in position for you to wire tie it.
I think that might be what's holding it.
Okay.
At least.
All right.
The inner bag is hung up on there. Oh. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's bring it off first. So the inner bag didn't,
This is Mission Control Houston, now 5 hours, 45 minutes into the spacewalk by Doug Wheelock and Tracy Caldwell Dyson as they place this jumper box with two of the hoses associated with the failed pump module that is used to circulate ammonia coolant throughout the International Space Station's external cooling system components. As they finish bagging this jumper box and the two lines, the team here on the ground is discussing the forward actions for the rest of this EVA. Looks like they're going to have an opportunity to try to remove the M1 connection, another one of the 1.5-inch ammonia lines from the failed pump module.
Oscar, while TC's wire tying this bag, the next step, could I be moving ahead a little bit?
Yep, Wheels, the next step is we're going to attempt to demate M1. So if you're ready,
okay,
we can go ahead and do the valve close procedures. Let me know when you're back in position.
Okay. Shannon, I'll need a little GCA.
copy.
And so Doug Wheelock getting the official word from Oscar Kaler here in Mission Control that he does have a go to begin the process of closing the valve on that second 1.5-inch quick disconnect device so that he can demate that ammonia line from the failed pump module.
Okay, copy. Station forward. Push on the hand controller. Ready to start motion.
Ready for you.
But he'll first need Shannon Walker inside the Destiny Laboratory module to maneuver him using the robotic arm known as Canadarm2, so he's back into position with the ammonia line connections on the pump module.
Okay, station port about 3 or 4 inches.
Port about 3 or 4 inches. Left on the hand controller.
And Wills and Tracy, once you're clear of the pump module area, once you've moved port, I'm going to have you guys stop and we'll do a ammonia inspection.
Copy.
I copy. Yes, I copy.
This is my crew out back here, TC.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming port main review.
Okay, you're clear.
Oh, hey, Will.
Okay, could you release that rope for me, TC? I'm ready to it.
Okay.
Right by your left hand.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, you're clear. Moving.
This is Mission Control Houston as Doug Wheelock and Tracy Caldwell-Dyson continue their cleanup activities at the S1 or starboard side of the truss structure work site where they've been working with the pump module and the quick disconnects for the ammonia system. We are looking ahead toward getting the crew back inside the airlock and going through the necessary ammonia decontamination procedures. The crew is being reminded that they need to look for waxy surfaces, loss of thread pattern, unusual colors or contours on the outsides of their spacesuits. It's best to view those kinds of areas in dark areas with helmet light spot bulbs. And that some additional shadowing can be seen if you look from oblique angles. The mechanical brushing off technique used to get oxidizer and fuel from thrusters off the spacesuits doesn't work with ammonia. Instead, sublimation is the best way to get rid of that kind of contamination from the outsides of the spacesuits. Part of that is just being out in the vacuum of space and in the sunlight. However, you can help by improving the heat transfer using tools such as pry bars or other metal surfaces. You can use to help provide some heat transfer to the area of spacesuit where any ammonia is seen. The crews are trained to press a heated tool against the contaminated surface and then remove it, allowing the ammonia to sublimate into space. The two crew members will check each other out and perform any of these techniques that are necessary. And then after that's all complete, a bake-out clock will start. And that means that they have to wait for 30 minutes in the crew airlock before they close the hatch at the end of the spacewalk. The team here in Mission Control also will voice up some cautions to Shannon Walker, who will be working to help get them back in the airlock after the EVA with respect to the potential for any ammonia that might somehow make its way back into the equipment lock of the station. They do have a contamination kit that's called a dragger tube that is stowed in one of the crew lock bags, and basically it provides an indication of how much ammonia is present at the time.
I want to get a visual on my safety tether on my back. I did a little high yak to get clear again.
Oscar, I have my adjustable off of,
I copy, Tracy.
and what do you want me to do?
See if you can get I have my safety tether working.
Oh,
Can you see my safety tether? Behind my back, and
I'm looking. It's going, just lift your right foot. It's,
Okay, guys. Looks like you're ready for words on the inspection.
not quite yet, Oscar.
Okay.
1 second.
And just for
Okay,
your...
if you come,
Go ahead.
okay, Will, if you now go starboard. Lift your right leg, bend your knee. There you go, you're clear of it now.
Okay.
Now stand by for 6.
They're coming in front of me.
Wait, stand by for 6. Okay, now, go straight, zenith if you can. It runs right in my eyes. But, right now, the Urcum is over the back on your calf on the right. So, no, don't do that. Bend your knee again, and then swivel your toe outboard, to the right. So, and if not, then I'm going to climb up here and get it off you. Bye. Bring your legs in toward the truss. Okay.
They're coming across in front of me.
It's right down your right side. Oh, go starboard, starboard, go starboard. Now pivot down.
Okay. Great, thank you. I'll wait for you to go down and see this first. I go up and get my...
Wills and Tracy, I have
Okay,
an
Oscar,
update.
go ahead.
We want you guys to go ahead and head down to the airlock, and we'll do the inspection down there.
So can you release my waist?
Copy, Oscar.
Wills and Tracy, just to let you know, we're at PET 707.
Copy.
Copy. I'm sorry, Oscar, I'm headed into the airlock or at the airlock?
At the airlock.
Copy.
Probably easiest to do the inspection just in front of the hatch.
Okay.
Okay, Oscar, I've got my my fare lead, adjustable fare lead, heading to the airlock now.
Copy, Wills. Tracy's on the airlock right now.
Wills, can you see my helmet? Am I clear of your safety tether?
Yes, you are.
I copy you on hardline.
This is Mission Control Houston, and so Doug Wheelock and Tracy Caldwell Dyson officially now completing their spacewalk of 8 hours and 3 minutes in duration at 2:22 p.m. Central Time after starting at 6:19 a.m. Central Time. Finishing up the 148th spacewalk for International Space Station assembly and maintenance. A total of 929 hours and 38 minutes spent on those assembly and maintenance spacewalks. It was the 240th spacewalk by U.S. astronauts in history.
You're clear of the hatch mechanism.
It was the second spacewalk for Expedition 24 with a total of 14 hours and 45 minutes spent outside the hatches of both the Quest airlock module and the Piers docking compartment airlock module. For Doug Wheelock, it was his fourth spacewalk. He now has a total of 28 hours and 44 minutes to his credit and stands at 44th on the all-time spacewalking list. Tracy Caldwell Dyson completing her first spacewalk at 8 hours and 3 minutes.
Can I show us equalized, ready to go to post view?
The spacewalking team still inside the crew lock portion of the Quest airlock module, radioing down to Ricky Arnold on the ground that it was a tough one as spacewalks go, but they thought they came together as a team, and sending special thanks to Courtney McMillan for her leadership of this activity that has been accomplished at a fairly furious pace as spacewalk planning and execution goes.
Nominal config for the hatch handle.
In terms of longest spacewalks of all time, this is now officially the longest spacewalk for ISS-based spacewalks, and it is the sixth longest spacewalk in history. The longest spacewalk, 8 hours, 56 minutes in March 11, 2001. The second longest, 8 hours and 29 minutes, May 13 of 1992. The third, 8 hours, 15 minutes on December 22 of 1999. The fourth, 8 hours and 10 minutes, December 23 of 99. And the fifth, 8:08 on December 24th, Christmas Eve of 1999. Shannon Walker and Fyodor Yurshikin in the process of opening up now the hatchway between the crew and the equipment portions of the airlock. They'll be helping the spacewalkers come back inside the station now. The pair had set out to remove a faulty ammonia pump module on the starboard side of the station's truss structure and to get the replacement pump situated in that cavity. However, because of difficulties with the quick disconnects on the ammonia lines that feed that pump, they were unable to actually physically remove the pump from its cavity in the truss structure. They did remove 3 of the 4 quick disconnect lines that need to be removed for it to be replaced. They left the 4th in position after seeing signs of a ammonia leak from that system. Second walk outside the station had been planned all along to complete the repairs. The mission management team and the spacewalk support team will go off and take a look at where we are now after this first spacewalk and revise their plans for the second spacewalk. There'll be thorough reviews of the issue they saw with the quick disconnects, both for the purposes of making sure they do it right when they go out to disconnect the final line, and also so that they can use that data for connecting the new pump. Shannon Walker helping out with the spacewalk inside the Destiny Laboratory module by operating the space station's robotic arm, moving Doug Wheelock into position so that he could wrestle with those Baki connectors. In the end, it boiled down to him tapping on a detention button with a tool as if it were a hammer in order to get that final quick disconnect bailing system to be able to open and close the valve necessary to allow it to be disconnected. This is Mission Control Houston. We're continuing to receive live downlink television pictures from inside the Quest airlock module as Doug Wheelock and Tracy Caldwell Dyson are now back inside safe and sound after an 8-hour and 3-minute long spacewalk to work on replacement of a faulty pump module associated with the International Space Station's ammonia cooling system. They had to go through some special decontamination procedures and contamination testing as they're about ready to come back inside the space station. Fyodor Yoshikin in the airlock with them, documenting the condition of their spacesuits, along with also Shannon Walker. You can see him taking close-up photographs of the palms of the gloves, which came in contact with a number of tools and handrails that showed that they had gone through some buffeting outside the International Space Station. Regular glove checks, a normal part of EVA operations now after some cuts had been discovered a couple of years ago that resulted in a redesign of the gloves to make them a little bit tougher, and also into new procedures to keep track of any cuts that could be a danger to the crew members. Again, today's spacewalk began at 6:19 a.m. Central Time and concluded at 2:22 p.m. Central Time, total of 8 hours and 3 minutes in duration. It is now the longest ISS-based spacewalk in history and the 6th longest spacewalk in history in general. Today's spacewalk was the 148th in support of assembly and maintenance for the space station. It was the 240th spacewalk by U.S. astronauts overall. For Expedition 24 now, there have been 2 spacewalks, 1 American, 1 Russian, totaling 14 hours and 45 minutes. For Doug Wheelock, he's got 4 spacewalks, totaling 28 hours and 44 minutes, putting him 44th on the list of all-time spacewalk durations. Tracy Caldwell Dyson now has her first spacewalk under her belt with 8 hours and 3 minutes.
3 Astronauten der Internationalen Raumstation ISS haben mit der Reparatur eines Kühlsystems begonnen. Die Arbeiten sind kompliziert, um den Defekt zu beheben, ist noch mindestens ein weiterer Ausstieg erforderlich. Am vergangenen Samstag war eines der beiden Kühlsysteme der ISS ausgefallen, deshalb mussten mehrere Systeme abgeschaltet werden. Unfall. Im australischen Melbourne ist ein Kleinflugzeug in eine Siedlung gestürzt. Der Zweisitzer landete im Garten eines Hauses gleich neben dem Swimmingpool. Die Pilotin und ihr Passagier überstanden den Crash unverletzt. Da sich zum Unglückszeitpunkt niemand im Garten befand, kam auch am Boden kein Mensch zu Schaden.
To answer the mail. TJ in Namibia wants to know, is it a rule for people in American politics to wear suits? TJ, you could say the business suit is the unofficial uniform of America's political elite. Hillary Clinton made the pantsuit her trademark. But when it comes to getting elected, candidates like to go casual sometimes to come across as more ordinary and electable. Governor Howard Dean made his mark wearing shirt sleeves. Senator Lamar Alexander wore plaid shirts when he campaigned for the presidency in 1996. Here's President Obama on a New York Post cover wearing no shirt. Nice pecs, Mr. President. And Richard Nixon, never exactly a style icon, hit the low water mark in political fashion, taking to the sand and surf in a tie and jacket. Well, if you have a question or comment, just come as you are to our website, cnn.com/politicalman. Or email us at politicalman@cnn.com.
And finally, we leave you with a story that could have been a buzzkill. Imagine it's your 49th birthday and your entire family is away.
Your older daughter is at summer camp. Your wife and younger daughter are on holiday in Spain. Meanwhile, you've got to stay behind and work. You can't even have any cake.
We wanted to sing happy birthday to you and serve a cake, but the Secret Service nixed the cake.
So the president summoned his good friend Bo to keep him company on Air Force One and then went home to Chicago. That's where he spent the night and had a private birthday dinner with a few friends, including Oprah Winfrey. So the president's 49th wasn't a total downer. Washington guests in the White House East Room sang happy birthday, and he even got a present from his Secret Service detail. What was the gift? Well, it was from the Secret Service. The gift remains classified.
And that is our program for this week. Join us next time on Political Man. We'll make it a special day for you.
Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff. 30 minutes after the...
Die Eroberung des Weltraums. Seit mehr als 50 Jahren hinterlässt der Mensch dabei gefährliche Spuren im All. Schrott. Satelliten, Raumfahrtmissionen und sogar Menschen auf der Erde sind gefährdet. Von einem Problem, das immer größer wird. Die Europäische Raumfahrtagentur in Darmstadt. Heiner Klinkrath ist Spezialist für Weltraumschrott. Seine Arbeit ist wichtiger denn je, denn auch aktuelle ESA-Missionen müssen mittlerweile vor dem Schrottchaos im All geschützt werden. Und das wird immer schwieriger. Denn der Schrottschwarm im Weltraum ist schlagartig größer geworden. Im Februar 2009 kam es zu einer unerwarteten Kollision. Das erste Mal in der Geschichte der Raumfahrt rasten zwei Satelliten ineinander und zerstörten sich gegenseitig. Der Crash des amerikanischen Iridium mit einem russischen Kosmos-Satelliten erzeugte Trümmerwolken mit mehreren tausend Teilen. Niemals zuvor gab es auf einen Schlag eine Schrottwolke dieses Ausmaßes.
Es zeigt sich, dass selbst wenn man jetzt sämtliche Startaktivitäten einstellen würde, ab sofort keine Starts mehr stattfinden würden. Das, was sich dort oben befindet, und das sind etwa 6.000 Tonnen Masse, die sich da im Weltraum bewegen, die mit hohen Relativgeschwindigkeiten sich aufeinander zubewegen, teilweise jenseits von 50.000 Stundenkilometer, dass diese Masse ausreichen würde, um einen lawinenartigen Effekt in Gang zu setzen. Die ersten Zeichen davon haben wir jetzt gesehen mit Iridium und Kosmos. Es werden weitere Kollisionen stattfinden und die Zeitspanne zwischen solchen Kollisionen wird immer kürzer sein.
Je näher die Trümmer in Richtung Erde kommen, desto schneller werden sie. Anziehungs- und Zentrifugalkraft wirken gegeneinander und beschleunigen die Geschosse auf bis zu 50.000 Kilometer pro Stunde. Treffen die Schrottteile auf ein Hindernis, entfalten sie eine gewaltige Zerstörungskraft. Millimeterkleine Trümmer können den Effekt von explodierenden Handgranaten haben. Über 600.000 Teile, die größer als 1 Zentimeter sind, bewegen sich durch den erdnahen Weltraum. Die wachsende Schrotthalde könnte die Raumfahrt sogar zum Erliegen bringen. Wachtberg bei Bonn. Hier steht die leistungsstärkste Radaranlage Europas, TIRA genannt. Der Parabolspiegel hat einen Durchmesser von 34 Metern. Er wird eingesetzt, um das Ausmaß des Schrottchaos im Weltraum genau zu erfassen. Um die Teile aufzuspüren, wird die Antenne fast senkrecht in den Himmel gerichtet. Jedes Objekt, das den Radarstrahl kreuzt, wird so detektiert. Bis zu 2 Zentimeter kleine Trümmer in 1000 Kilometer Entfernung können auf diese Art erkannt werden, bei Tag und Nacht. Ludger Leushacke erforscht den Schrottschwarm, um das Schlimmste zu vermeiden.
Wir erleben das hautnah, weil immer häufiger, seit dem letzten Jahr, immer häufiger Anfragen der ESA bezüglich Vermessungen zur Kollisionsvermeidung bzw. zur Kollisionsrisikoschätzung an uns herangetragen werden. Wenn das in den Jahren vorher vielleicht so einmal im Monat, einmal alle 2 Monate war, dann ist das jetzt beinahe mittlerweile einmal wöchentlich.
Seit der Kollision von 2009 wird jeder Satellit überwacht. Auch NVSat, einer der größten und teuersten. 8 Tonnen schwer, 2,3 Milliarden Euro Gesamtkosten. Immer wieder kommen ihm Schrottteile bedrohlich nahe. Im Januar 2010 erhalten Heiner Klinkrath und seine Kollegen eine Kollisionswarnung. Eine 4 Tonnen schwere chinesische Raketenoberstufe wird die Flugbahn von NVSat kreuzen. Eine Kollision würde den Verlust des Satelliten bedeuten und das Schrottaufkommen im Orbit schlagartig verdoppeln.
Im Moment durchlaufen wir diese Wolke.
Um die Kollisionsgefahr einschätzen zu können, braucht das Team um Heiner Klinkrath genauere Flugdaten der Raketenoberstufe. 2 Tage vor dem drohenden Kollisionsereignis schalten sie Ludger Leusacke ein. Mit dem TIRA-Radar soll er messen, wie nah sich Satellit und Raketenschrott kommen werden. Die Flugdaten von NVSat sind den Forschern bekannt. Die der chinesischen Raketenstufe hat die NASA berechnet. Doch nicht genau genug. Mit dem Radar wollen die Wissenschaftler das Schrottstück aufspüren und die Flugbahn exakt verfolgen. Da sich die Flugbahn des Schrottgeschosses ständig ändert, muss der vermeintliche Kollisionskurs im Voraus berechnet werden. Die ersten Daten ergeben, die Flugobjekte drohen nicht frontal, sondern seitlich aufeinander zu prallen, mit einer Geschwindigkeit von 2 Kilometern pro Sekunde. Das wäre verheerend, denn so entstehen viele und vor allem große Trümmer. 5-mal hintereinander verfolgt das Radar die Flugbahn der Raketenoberstufe. Laut den Berechnungen wird das Schrottstück wenige Meter an NVSat vorbeifliegen, doch ein Restrisiko bleibt.
Wir hatten einen Vorbeiflug, der in einer Gesamtdistanz von weniger als 50 Meter stattfand, wobei die kritische radiale Distanz sogar nur um die 15 Meter war. Und wenn man sich die Dimensionen vom NVSat anschaut, dann ist 15 Meter nicht sehr viel. Das heißt, es war bei weitem nicht ausreichend, um ohne Manöver dieses Ereignis an uns vorüberziehen zu lassen.
Heiner Klinkrath und sein Team entscheiden sich für ein Ausweichmanöver. Treibstoff ermöglicht es einem Satelliten maximal 15 Jahre auf Kurs zu bleiben. Ein Ausweichmanöver kostet NVSat 400 Gramm Sprit. Dadurch verkürzt sich seine Lebensdauer um 1 Monat. Im Kontrollraum wird NVSat rund um die Uhr überwacht. Etwa 10-mal täglich tauscht der Satellit Daten mit der Zentrale aus. Ein komplexes Computerprogramm soll NVSat befehlen, in einen höheren Orbit zu fliegen. Ist die Raketenoberstufe vorbeigezogen, muss der Satellit wieder in die alte Flugbahn zurückkehren. Die Daten müssen wenige Stunden vor der erwarteten Kollision an NVSat gesendet werden. Dann können die ESA-Experten nur noch warten. Denn während NVSat in seine neue Flugbahn steuert, sendet der Satellit keine Signale. Erst nach dem nächsten Überflug über die ESA-Radarstation im schwedischen Kiruna wissen Heiner Klinkrath und seine Kollegen, ob ihr Manöver erfolgreich war. Am Ende geht alles gut. NVSat zieht unbeschadet vorbei.
Okay, gut. Nee, das tut man nicht.
NVSat wurde erfolgreich aus der Gefahrenzone manövriert, aber weitere Kollisionen drohen. Kleinere Trümmer könnten die Mission täglich zum Scheitern bringen.
Wenn man zu 1 Zentimeter Objekten geht, können wir davon ausgehen, dass wir um die 600.000 haben. Und ein 1 Zentimeter Objekt ist in der Lage, bei einem Aufschlag auf einen Satelliten diesen Satelliten funktionsunfähig zu machen. Geht man zu 1 Millimeter Objekten, dann redet man so etwa von 300 Millionen Objekten. Und diese 1 Millimeter Objekte sind in der Lage, die Außenhaut eines Astronautenanzugs zu durchschlagen und können auch schon sensitive Subsysteme von Satelliten beschädigen. Also es lauert noch Gefahr im Hintergrund, die wir durch solche Vermeidungsmanöver gar nicht erfassen.
Die ESA im holländischen Noordwijk. Hier beschäftigt sich Gerhard Drolshagen mit besonders kleinen Schrottpartikeln, das heißt kleiner als 1 Millimeter. Bis heute weiß man sehr wenig über die Eigenschaften des Trümmerstaubs, denn man kann ihn von der Erde aus nicht beobachten. Drolshagen muss auf andere Methoden ausweichen. Er untersucht Solarpanelen des Weltraumteleskops Hubble, die bei einer Reparaturmission zur Erde zurückgebracht wurden.
So, ja, es hat was.
Hunderte winzige Einschlagskrater finden die Forscher. Laut chemischer Analysen stammen 50% davon nicht von Meteoriten, sondern von Schrottteilen. Unterm Mikroskop wird schnell klar, viele der millimetergroßen Trümmer haben die Solarpaneele sogar durchschlagen. Dabei scheinen sie nicht einzeln, sondern in ganzen Trümmerwolken unterwegs gewesen zu sein. Die Analysen zeigen darüber hinaus, der Schrottschwarm kam meist aus einer Richtung. Die Forscher vermuten, dass die Schrottpartikel Vorboten von noch größeren Trümmern sind. Die genaue Vermessung der Kratergrößen führt zu einer weiteren, beunruhigenden Erkenntnis.
Man kann sagen, dass das Material, das bei so einem Einschlag herausgeschleudert wird, kann etwa 1000-mal so viel Masse haben wie das einschlagende Teilchen selbst. Das heißt, jeder Einschlag erzeugt neue Weltraumschrottteilchen und dadurch kann ich mehr und mehr von dem Weltraumschrott bekommen. Das gilt für die kleinen Teilchen und natürlich auch ganz besonders für größere Teilchen, die irgendwo auftreffen, die sogar Satelliten völlig zerstören können und dann auch größere Bruchstücke erzeugen können.
Außeneinsätze von Astronauten sollen möglichst kurz sein und im Flugschatten der Raumstation stattfinden. Auch weil sie vor dem Schrott nicht geschützt sind. Noch heikler wird es, wenn durch jede Kollision neuer Schrott entsteht, der wiederum neue Kollisionen verursacht und so weiter und so fort. Der sogenannte Kaskadeneffekt. Im März 2009 sind Astronauten der ISS in Gefahr. Ein Schrottteil, kleiner als eine Schraube, ist auf Kollisionskurs. Gerade rechtzeitig entdeckt die NASA den Splitter. Die Crew wird in eine angedockte Soyuz-Kapsel evakuiert. Das Schrottteil zieht vorbei. Gerhard Drolshagen und seine Kollegen in Norwegen kennen die Risiken, gerade bei der ISS. Die Schutzschilde der Raumstation können nur Trümmer bis zu 2 Zentimeter Größe aufhalten. Die Forscher haben deshalb dafür gesorgt, dass das Columbus-Modul der Europäer, ein zentrales Bauteil der ISS, besonders geschützt wird. Es befindet sich dort, wo statistisch die meisten Trümmer einschlagen. Für die Raumstation können schon millimeterkleine Splitter ernsthafte Schwierigkeiten bedeuten.
Fenster, die ja aus Glas, Plexiglas, auf jeden Fall aus einem spröden Material bestehen, sind besonders empfindlich gegenüber Einschlägen. Selbst ein relativ kleiner Einschlag kann zum Bersten von so einem Fenster führen. Und zwar bestehen diese Fenster aus verschiedenen Paneelen, nicht nur aus einer Glasscheibe, sondern aus 3 oder 4 sogar, die auch alle 1 Zentimeter dick sind oder sogar noch dicker. Aber trotzdem ist dort noch ein relativ hohes Risiko, jedenfalls ein größeres Risiko als bei anderen Teilen der Raumstation.
2010 hat die ESA eine Aussichtsplattform an der ISS installiert, die sogenannte Cupola. Durch das Fenster sollen wichtige Experimente beobachtet werden. Doch vorbeifliegender Weltraumschrott zwingt die Astronauten, die Fenster die meiste Zeit geschlossen zu halten. Auch für zukünftige Weltraumtouristen sind das schlechte Aussichten. Im März 2010 startet das Spaceship Two des Multimillionärs Richard Branson seinen ersten Testflug. Es soll einmal Touristen an die Grenzen zum Weltall befördern. Mit $200.000 pro Ticket ein kostspieliger Ausflug in die Schwerelosigkeit. Andere Visionäre planen sogar ganze Hotelanlagen im All. Schon heute steht fest, die Weltraumtouristen werden auf effektive Raumschiff-Schutzschilde gegen das Schrottchaos angewiesen sein. Und der Ausblick ins All könnte die meiste Zeit eher getrübt sein. Das Ernst-Mach-Institut in Freiburg. Potenzielle Schutzschildtechnologien kommen hier auf den Prüfstand. Mit einer sogenannten Leichtgaskanone testet Frank Schäfer neue Materialien. Er setzt sie unter Beschuss und simuliert so Einschläge, wie sie im Weltraum stattfinden können.
Zunächst mal muss man sich mit der Verwundbarkeit der Systeme stärker auseinandersetzen. Das heißt, wir simulieren hier mit Tests in unserem Labor, wie ein Teilchen auf eine Oberfläche auftrifft, wie es durch diese Oberfläche dringt, wie es im Innern dann aufgefangen werden kann oder welchen Schaden es auch im Innern einer Struktur ausrichtet.
Raumfahrtschutzschilde müssen extrem resistent und gleichzeitig sehr leicht sein. Je weniger Gewicht ins Weltall transportiert werden muss, umso niedriger sind die Transportkosten. Ein entscheidender Faktor, auch für die Tourismusanbieter. Ein Schutzschildmaterial scheint die gewünschten Eigenschaften perfekt zu vereinen. Kevlar. Das Gewebe macht Schutzwesten kugelsicher, aber hält es auch Weltraumtrümmer auf? Das Kevlar soll mit einer 5 mm großen Aluminiumkugel beschossen werden. Die Schussvorrichtung, eine Leichtgaskanone, funktioniert ähnlich wie eine Luftpumpe. Um eine Kollision mit einem Schrottteil zu simulieren, muss im Inneren ein gewaltiger Druck die Kugel auf knapp 25.000 km pro Stunde beschleunigen. 22 Mal schneller als ein Pistolenschuss. Die Kevlarschicht soll das Geschoss nicht stoppen, sondern in möglichst kleine Teile zersplittern. Im besten Fall fängt eine zweite Schutzschildwand die entstehenden Fragmente auf. Im Steuerraum wird die Leichtgaskanone scharf gemacht. Hochgeschwindigkeitskameras zeichnen den Einschlag auf. Nach einer Millisekunde durchschlägt die Kugel wie erwartet die Kevlarschicht. Hinter dem Kevlar bildet sich eine Fragmentwolke.
Also da kommt das Projektil.
Die Auswertung der Aufnahmen wenige Minuten später zeigt, wie beabsichtigt hat das Kevlargewebe die Kugel zersplittert. Statt vieler kleiner Fragmente sind dabei aber große Splitter mit gewaltiger Zerstörungskraft entstanden. Ein schlechtes Ergebnis für die Forscher.
So.
Ja, die Schädigung ist ja beeindruckend.
Die Kugelfragmente haben sogar die zweite Schutzschicht mühelos durchschlagen.
Diese Platte, die erzeugt nun wirklich einen passiven Abdruck dieser Fragmente, die entstanden sind. Und da sehen wir, dass also sehr große Fragmente entstanden sind, große Löcher erzeugen, die eine große Eindringwirkung haben. Und das wäre für uns jetzt der Hebel hier anzusetzen, diese erste Prallplatte, dieses Gewebe durch zusätzliche Lagen noch zu verstärken, dass das ein auftreffende Teilchen besser zersplittert wird, also in kleinere Teilchen zersplittert wird.
Auch für Touristen im Weltall wird es also vorerst keine völlige Sicherheit geben. Manche Trümmer werden auch auf der Erde zur Gefahr. Einige Tanks oder ganze Satelliten verglühen bei ihrer Rückkehr nicht vollständig in der Atmosphäre und stürzen unkontrolliert ab. Ein Schicksal, das auch dem deutschen Satelliten Rosat bevorsteht. Der wurde in den 80er Jahren als kosmisches Röntgenobservatorium gebaut. Mit 2,5 Tonnen zählt er zu den Schwergewichten im All. Bis 1999 war Rosat auf Mission. Dann ging ihm der Sprit aus. Seitdem rast er steuerlos um die Erde. Eigentlich sollte Rosat bereits 2008 abstürzen. Doch die Bedingungen im All haben sich verändert. Die Sonne spielt dabei eine entscheidende Rolle. Ihre Aktivität ist seit einigen Jahren extrem gering. Die obere Erdatmosphäre verliert dadurch an Wärme und zieht sich zusammen. Die Folge: Rosat wird auf seinem Rückflug weniger stark abgebremst und bleibt länger im All. Aber wie lange? Die TIRA-Radaranlage in Wachtberg soll bei der Prognose helfen. Nach neuen Berechnungen soll Rosat vermutlich 2011 abstürzen. Der genaue Einschlagort ist noch unbekannt. Sein unkontrolliertes Flugverhalten macht den Schrottsatelliten fast unberechenbar.
Fluktuierende Streuzentren, das sind halt die.
Mit Hilfe von Radarbildern kann Ludger Leushacke havarierte Satelliten aufspüren und eine Ferndiagnose wagen. Ist Rosat bereits in einem Stadium kritischer Taumelbewegungen? Das würde nämlich sein Flugverhalten völlig unberechenbar machen.
In 1,5 Stunden fliegt der Satellit einmal um die Erde herum. Das heißt, man wird nicht einen genauen Eintrittsort nennen können, sondern ein Eintrittsfenster. Man weiß natürlich genau dann, dass er auf dieser Spur, auf dieser Subspur niedergehen wird. Die Subspurbreite, die liegt dann vielleicht so im Bereich 50, 100 Kilometer. Und man kann dann zumindest sagen, diese Subspur verläuft zum Beispiel über Deutschland oder nicht. Das heißt, man kann Entwarnung geben oder eben halt auch nicht.
1978 stürzte der russische Spionagesatellit Kosmos 954 über Kanada ab. Die russischen Betreiber hatten damals die Kontrolle über den Erdtrabanten verloren. Ein uranhaltiger Kernreaktor an Bord ließ das Schlimmste befürchten. Beim Aufprall blieb der Super-GO zwar aus, doch Dutzende radioaktive Teile verteilten sich über Kanada. Mehrere Millionen Dollar kostete die Säuberungsaktion. Sollte Rosat abstürzen, muss übrigens Deutschland für eventuell entstehende Schäden haften. Der Umgang mit Weltraumschrott ist gesetzlich nicht geregelt. Nach aktuellen Raumfahrtrichtlinien müssen erdnahe Satelliten 25 Jahre nach Missionsende kontrolliert zum Absturz gebracht werden. Bei Missachtung drohen den Betreibern jedoch keine Strafen. Längst fordern Experten verbindliche Regeln für das All.
Eine Verkehrsregelung im Weltraum wird kommen müssen. Und das werden auch natürlich die kommerziellen Satellitenbetreiber, die Satellitenbauer, werden das irgendwann einsehen, denn deren Satelliten sind natürlich auch gefährdet. Ja, und sie werden sicher auch in Zukunft zumindest, im Moment vielleicht noch nicht so, in Zukunft alles dran setzen müssen, dass sie diesen wirtschaftlichen Verlust eines Ausfalls eines Satelliten durch einen Trümmereinschlag nicht mehr werden in Kauf nehmen.
Deutsches Luft- und Raumfahrtzentrum in Oberpfaffenhofen. Hier arbeiten Wissenschaftler an neuen Methoden der Schrottentsorgung im All. Die Vision von Florian Sellmeier und seinen Kollegen, einen Satellitenabschleppdienst zu bauen.
Wenn der Satellit irgendwie einen Fehler hat, wird er von sich selbst aus sich nicht mehr entsorgen können. Das heißt, da braucht man Abschleppsatelliten. Und das ist wie in der Automobilindustrie. Man hat zunächst Autos entwickelt. Und irgendwann gab es immer mehr Autos, die dann auch liegen geblieben sind. Dann hat man irgendwann nicht mehr den nächsten Nachbarn gefragt, den nächsten Bauern gefragt, ob er mit Traktor oder Pferde die Autos dann zur Werkstatt bringt, sondern hat halt Abschleppwägen hergestellt. Und die sehen Sie jetzt überall rumfahren.
In einer weiter entfernten Flugbahn, dem sogenannten geostationären Orbit, ist die Satellitendichte besonders hoch. Nur in dieser Umlaufbahn können sich Kommunikations- und Fernsehsatelliten mit der Erde drehen und ununterbrochen Funksignale senden. Um den geostationären Orbit sauber zu halten, entwickeln die DLR-Forscher den Abschleppsatelliten OLEF. Der soll an verirrte Satelliten andocken und diese wieder auf Kurs bringen. Oder beschädigte Trabanten weit draußen im Weltall entsorgen, in einem Friedhofsorbit. Die Vision eines Weltraum-ADAC klingt abenteuerlich. Das Andocken zählt dabei zu den heikelsten Manövern.
Die Schwierigkeit beim Docking ist, dass Sie in einer Entfernung von 35.800 Kilometer mit dem OLEF-Satelliten an den Zielsatelliten anfliegen müssen in einem Genauigkeitsbereich von Zentimetern, kleiner als Zentimeter. Das ist, wenn Sie in einer ganz großen Entfernung quasi einen Faden durch ein Nadelöhr treffen müssen.
Am Teststand simulieren Florian Sellmeier und seine Kollegen die kosmische Annäherung mit Hilfe zweier Roboter. Der Abschlepproboter muss den Satelliten per Kamera erkennen und das Andocken dann selbstständig steuern. Die erschwerten Bedingungen des Alls Schwerelosigkeit und blendendes Sonnenlicht werden hier simuliert. Da kein Satellit eine Anhängerkupplung besitzt, muss improvisiert werden. Der Abschleppsatellit soll an einer Antriebsdüse des Zielsatelliten andocken. Im Robotikzentrum des DLR wurde zu diesem Zweck eine spezielle Greiftechnik entwickelt. Mithilfe eines Hightech-Dorns soll der Abschleppsatellit in die Düse des Zielsatelliten eindringen. Steckt der Dorn erst einmal in der Düse, soll er sich im Düseninnern aufspreizen. Geht alles gut, verhakt sich so der Abschleppsatellit mit dem Zielsatelliten und kann die Steuerung übernehmen. Die Experten des DLR forschen noch an vielen technischen Details. Ob der Abschleppdienst wie geplant wirklich schon 2013 starten kann, steht in den Sternen. Bislang hat sich auch noch kein Käufer gefunden. Doch die teure Entwicklung von OLEF kann ein weiteres Problem nicht lösen. Schrottsatelliten, die sich taumelnd und mit mehr als 7 Kilometern pro Sekunde durchs Weltall bewegen. Um den trudelnden Müll einzufangen, bräuchte es Greifsysteme, die blitzschnell zupacken können, vergleichbar mit einer menschlichen Hand. Die Forscher des DLR arbeiten bereits an der Technik für einen Weltraum-Schrottgreifer. Das Projekt trägt den Namen DEOS. Die Steuerung des Greifarms soll einmal von der Erde aus erfolgen. Eines der größten Probleme konnte bereits gelöst werden. Die Datenübertragung ins Weltall braucht heute nur noch wenige Millisekunden. Das ermöglicht ein schnelles Zupacken im Weltraum. Doch viele Tücken bleiben. Scheitert die Abschleppmission, könnte das Trümmerchaos im Weltall sogar noch steigen. Experten befürchten außerdem, dass die Technologie als Waffe missbraucht werden kann, um funktionierende Satelliten zu übernehmen oder gar zu zerstören. Bis eine Müllabfuhr im Weltall ihren Dienst aufnehmen kann, wird es noch Jahre brauchen. Auch weil die Satellitenindustrie noch nicht bereit ist, Geld für die Entsorgung auszugeben. Doch ohne Müllkonzept wird es für künftige Satellitenmissionen schwieriger und die Menschen sind auf verlässliche Technik angewiesen. Der Weltraumschrott muss unter Kontrolle gebracht werden.
Es gibt Pläne, zum Mond zu fliegen und zum Mars zu fliegen, zum Teil sogar mit Astronauten. Das kann auch einige Jahrzehnte in der Zukunft sein. Aber man plant auch heute schon Maßnahmen, um dort gleich von Anfang an zu verhindern, dass sich auch um den Mond und um den Mars, Weltraumschrottgürtel bilden, so wie wir das zurzeit um die Erde haben. Das heißt, ich glaube, man hat auch ein bisschen aus dem Schaden gelernt und für die Zukunft wird man doch von Anfang an versuchen, Weltraumschrott um andere Himmelskörper zu vermeiden.
Und damit es nicht bei Versuchen bleibt, braucht es endlich verbindliche Weltraumgesetze.
Die Reparatur des Kühlsystems an der Raumstation ISS dauert länger als erwartet. Bei dem Versuch, eine Pumpe auszuwechseln, strömte giftiges Ammoniakgas aus. Die beiden Astronauten mussten deshalb nach 8 Stunden Weltraumaufenthalt die Arbeiten an der Raumstation abbrechen. Kommenden Mittwoch soll ein weiterer Versuch gestartet werden.
Es sind spektakuläre Bilder, die uns jetzt aus dem mittleren Westen der USA erreicht haben. Dort hat ein Tornado ein Haus komplett zerstört.
Oh, it hit that? Oh no!
Der Tornado trifft mitten auf dieses Bauernhaus. In Sekundenschnelle ist von dem Haus nicht mehr viel übrig. Die Trümmer werden meterhoch in die Luft geschleudert. Der Sturmjäger, der die spektakulären Bilder einfängt, traut seinen Augen nicht.
Oh no, 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 no.
Ich muss nachschauen, was mit den Leuten passiert ist, sagt er. Es ist kaum zu glauben, die Bewohner sind unverletzt geblieben. Sie haben offenbar flach auf dem Boden ausgeharrt, bis der Tornado weitergezogen ist. Das Drama spielt sich im Bundesstaat Minnesota an der Grenze zu North Dakota ab. In der Gegend wüten noch mindestens 2 weitere Tornados. Einer von ihnen soll mindestens eine halbe Stunde lang über dem Boden gewirbelt sein. Normal dauern Tornados nur einige wenige Minuten. Den hier werden diese Farmer im Mittleren Westen nie mehr vergessen.
Wegen Hitze und Dauersmog sterben inzwischen pro Tag 700 Menschen. Nach Behördenangaben fast doppelt so viel wie sonst in Moskau.
Moskau heute Morgen 10 Uhr. Das Thermometer zeigt bereits unbarmherzige 31 Grad. Die Hitze hat Moskau fest im Griff. Doch schlimmer als die Hitze ist der beißende und giftige Rauch. Seit Tagen hängt die Qualmwolke über Russlands Hauptstadt. Für die 15 Millionen Moskauer gibt es fast kein Entrinnen. Der Alltag wird durch den Qualm immer quälender. Um dem hier zu entfliehen, muss man mindestens 5 bis 6 Stunden nach außerhalb fahren. Das kann nicht jeder. Das ist die Strafe für uns, weil wir die Umwelt so missachten. Die Natur schlägt eben zurück. Wer kann, versucht irgendwie rauszukommen aus Moskau. Der Flughafen Domodedowo am Wochenende. 2000 Passagiere sitzen fest bei 40 Grad. Wegen der Smogwolke sind zahlreiche Flüge verspätet oder fallen ganz aus. Ich sitze hier schon seit gestern. Sie legen einfach Flüge zusammen, aber niemand blickt hier mehr durch. Die Brände in großen Teilen Russlands lodern weiter. In Tscheljabinsk am Ural wurde im Gebiet des Atomzentrums Mayat der Ausnahmezustand verhängt. Die Behörden versichern, alles sei hier unter Kontrolle.
Kasachstan sind etwa 1000 Kilometer. Wir sehen, die Windsysteme verteilen diesen Rauch über Russland. Und gestern sah das Ganze noch viel schlimmer aus. Moskau hier mitten in diesem massiven Rauch. Und es ist auch kein Ende in Sicht. Denn wie gesagt, es bleibt dort heiß und eben trocken. Und auch in dieser Woche ändert sich an dieser Temperaturverteilung eigentlich sehr wenig. Immer die Hitze über Osteuropa. Vielleicht kann vorübergehend mal ein Westwind dafür sorgen, dass mal die Luft ein bisschen sauberer wird. Aber spätestens nach ein paar Tagen wird es dann bis zum Wochenende auf jeden Fall aus Südosten wieder diesen Rauch nach Moskau wehen. Denn wir haben dort ein Hochdruckgebiet. Damit kommt der Süd-Südostwind in Fahrt, bringt diesen Rauch nach Moskau. Regen kaum in Sicht, höchstens hier mal über Polen, Weißrussland oder eben über den Baltikum. Da ziehen diese Regenschauer, Gewitter nach Norden. Zu uns kommt morgen mal ein bisschen wärmere Luft vor dem neuen Tief. Ja, das wird uns so beschäftigen bis Anfang nächster Woche. Immer wieder mit Regen, zum Teil am Wochenende auch ganz kräftig. Das war's. Ich wünsche Ihnen einen schönen Abend und machen Sie es gut.
Is being fueled by hundreds of fires burning across Russia. Senior international correspondent Matthew Chance joins me now from Moscow with more. Matthew, these fires have been raging on for quite some time. Really, where is the situation at now in terms of trying to contain the impact?
Well, the firefighters that have been deployed in their tens of thousands by the Russian government to try and battle these forest fires and these peat bog fires that are causing this thick blanket of choking smog to engulf the entire Russian capital. Well, they're still working very hard to try and bring those flames under control, but the factors underlying the flames are still there. We've got very dry conditions. We're in the middle of the worst drought in this part of Russia for nearly 40 years. And we've had searing hot temperatures as well, close to 40 degrees centigrade, record highs in this part of Russia. And so those two factors have combined to ignite more fires, even as firefighters. Again, there's tens of thousands of them extinguish some fires. In other areas, more fires break out. And so the net result is that these flames are still raging. The smoke is still, billowing up into the air and dropping down on us all here in Moscow, Fanula.
And Matthew, do Russians have confidence in the authorities to cope with this unprecedented situation? And frankly, as I look at the picture behind you, dark as though it is, I mean, it's clearly very smoky. What's it like to breathe there?
It's pretty awful. In fact, I walk around most of the day, if I go outside at all, with one of these masks covering my mouth, and that's along with many other Muscovites as well, who have been advised, remember, by the government not to go outside if they can at all help it. But remember, there's more than 10 million people in Moscow, and so it's just not practical for people not to go out on the streets. We're seeing a lot of people out on the streets, mostly with masks, but many people are not even having masks, and the health implications of that could be very acute indeed. We've got 52 people confirmed dead as a result of the fires. But what health officials here in the Moscow region are saying now is that the mortality rate in Moscow is about twice the rate that it was in July of last year. And so if you extrapolate that across the whole area of western and central Russia, that could mean that thousands of people had died as a result, not just of the fires, but of the smog as well. And so that's something people here are very concerned about, Fionnuala.
All right, Matthew Chance reporting live from CNN Moscow. Let's return once more to Mary Ramos. Mary, is there any chance at all of a break in western Russia in this pattern?
We're starting to see a little bit of a chance for break. I can't promise you any kind of rain, but maybe a little bit of a break in this mountain of air that has kept all of this region just shrouded in smoke. Fionnuala, isn't this amazing, this picture right here? This is what it looks like from space. The smoke's so thick you can barely make out the land below. And hundreds, literally hundreds, maybe thousands of fires, hotspots that are burning across this area, just completely shrouded in smoke, getting pulled in into this region. As we head through the next couple of days, this big area of high pressure will start to break down. What does that mean? That means that this mountain of air that has been blocking all of the weather coming in here from the west will begin to ease up just a little bit. The winds maybe won't be so much out of the south, maybe a little bit more of a westerly component. That's going to help clear out the air just a little bit for you there in Moscow. And then maybe open up the door for a little bit of moisture to come through. We're not expecting much, but maybe just a little bit. Longer term, maybe it's the beginning of something good. We're still going to see temperatures well above the average, but 31, a high for Thursday, that's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome, as you say, Mary. But let's move further west now, because Europe, Eastern Europe particularly, and Germany has seen an awful lot of flooding in recent days. What's going on there, and how long is it likely to last?
You know, the amazing thing, I think we have some pictures to show you of here. That same big area of high pressure that I showed you that's blocking the weather from western parts of Russia is also keeping all of the wet weather over Central Europe. So storm system after storm system just follows that same general area. It's like a train of storms bringing some very heavy rain. River flooding has been very high. Like we talked about in Pakistan, it moves on further and further downstream. And that is why we're seeing now the flooding into Germany as opposed to only in Poland or only in the Czech Republic. And you can see that the damage has been extensive. At least 12 people have been killed. But we are going to see a little bit of an improvement in the weather here. That same pattern that I told you that is starting to break across western Russia will begin to break into this area as well. And the rain, we're not expecting it to be as abundant as it was before. A little bit more moisture will trail farther to the east, and you can see some of these rainfall totals are still pretty significant. 58 millimeters in 24 hours, but the storm system's moving away, giving them a chance to dry out. At least no new rain, no new significant rain is in the forecast for now.
And that'll be good news for those people in those areas. Mary Ramos, thank you indeed.
Is seeping into apartments, offices, and even the metro, causing thousands to flee the city. Well, Matthew Chance joins us now live from Moscow with the latest on that. Matthew.
Anita, thanks. Well, in fact, the Russian Emergency Situations Ministry and the Russian Health Ministry have released more figures detailing the number of deaths, the mortality rates as a result of the fires and the smog, as you can see behind me, still blanketing the Russian capital. They're saying now for the month of July, mortality rates have risen by 1.5 times, according to their figures, compared to the same period last year. That means that last year there were 9,500 deaths. This July there's been 14,340. So a major factor in that. Obviously this choking thick smog that continues to blanket the Russian capital, and of course areas outside the capital as well, with more than 500 wildfires raging, forest fires, but also peat bog fires. Tens of thousands of firefighters still battling to douse the flames, but at the moment we're still seeing those flames intensify in parts. Some flames are being extinguished, but then in other regions fires start up again because of those very dry weather conditions, very hot weather conditions as well, which, as we were just hearing from Ivan Carrera, are not likely to ease in the days ahead, possibly not until next week, Manita.
Matthew, it sounds like such a simplistic question, but it's a necessary one. What do people do? What choices do they have?
Well, I think it boils down to whether you've got the opportunity to leave the smog-filled region or not. Obviously, lots of people have lost their homes. Lots of villages have been burnt down in the areas of eastern and central Russia where the fires have been most savage. But here in the Russian capital, I mean, people with any money are spending nights in air-conditioned hotels. Many people have left the city. That's been a challenge in itself because the airports, at least 2 of the 3 main airports here, have been badly affected by the smog, and the flights have been delayed. That's led to some traffic chaos. But generally, people are not going outdoors as much as they would otherwise. When they do go outdoors, a great many people are wearing masks to protect themselves from inhaling the gases. But the fact is that the smog is so widespread in this city, it's very difficult to avoid being affected by it at some point. And so, unfortunately, people in Moscow are just having to live with this terrible weather situation, Manito.
Matthew Chance in Moscow, thank you for that.
550 wildfires are burning and bringing life-threatening smog to Moscow and other cities. Some foreign embassies in the capital are closed. The US is looking at a request to fly some of the families of its diplomats out of the country.
After battling the blazes for weeks, firefighters have only just started to gain the upper hand. Over the past 3 days, they've managed to reduce the threat in some regions, but the emergency minister is fuming over their slow progress. Visiting the Nizhny Novgorod region, where more than 80 fires are burning, he lashed out at fire crews and ordered them to work harder.
Your region is the only one that hasn't reduced the territory threatened by fires and hasn't lowered the number of blazes burning. That is intolerable. We have given you a huge number of resources.
After touring a fire-ravaged village in the country's west, the Russian president appeared to share his frustration.
When the fire started, many governors said that it's easier to reach the president than the commander of the defense ministry and get permission to take out 3 buckets and 2 spades. It's absolute disorder, and it's high time to start fighting it.
About 10,000 firefighters are working to douse the flames. Still, that's not enough. Officials say they don't have the equipment they need. This forestry director complains their equipment is outdated. They can't get any spare parts and so are wasting time, he says. Moscow has now backed a $1.8 billion plan for state-of-the-art firefighting aircraft and trucks to help crews on the ground. Thousands of troops are being sent in, but there's been a call for a volunteer fire service to be set up, like the one in the United States. It's estimated the fires are pumping up to 1 million tons of carbon monoxide into the air every day, more than twice acceptable levels. The toxic smog is the result of what's thought to be the most severe heat wave in the country's history. The Russian capital has been shrouded in acrid smoke for 4 days. With every day that's lost, more people are leaving, and health officials say the toll from the smog created by the fires has doubled to 700 each day. Ashley Neem, BBC News.
Was in Pakistan über rund 15 Millionen hereingebrochen ist, nennen die Behörden dort schlimmer als den Tsunami von 2004. Dagegen erscheint die Flutwelle an Oder und Neiße als winziges Detail im meteorologischen Weltgeschehen. Auch in China und Indien ist der regelmäßige Sommerregen so stark ausgefallen, dass der Segen zum Fluch wurde. In China hat das Wasser die Erde unterspült und Erdrutsche verursacht, die Hunderte von Menschen in den Tod rissen. Die Bilder der betroffenen Ortschaften lassen ahnen, dass hier das Eingreifen des Menschen mit seinen die Landschaft verändernden Bauten solch schlimme Auswirkungen zumindest verstärkt. In Russland sind die Auswirkungen von Hitze und Feuer selbst in der Hauptstadt zum Problem geworden. An brennende Wälder sind die Russen gewöhnt, auch daran, dass einige Ursachen dafür, wie die ewig schwelenden Torfbrände, menschengemacht sind. Auch hier scheint ein Klimaextrem die Menschen gnadenlos auf ihre Fehler im Umgang mit der Natur hinzuweisen. Aber außerdem spricht man in Russland vom heißesten Sommer seit Beginn der Aufzeichnungen. Die Karte zeigt in Rottönen die Bereiche mit abnorm hohen Temperaturen. Würde man in diese Karte auch arktische Regionen aufnehmen, müssten auch dort hohe Temperaturen angezeigt werden. Fakt ist, die Gletscher schmelzen. Sind nun alle diese für Menschen unerfreulichen Ereignisse auf eine gemeinsame Ursache zurückzuführen? Sind das die Vorboten einer vom Menschen verursachten Erderwärmung?
Canicule, sécheresse, inondation sans précédent.
Hitze, ungewöhnliche Trockenheit, zur gleichen Zeit an anderen Orten Hochwasser. Eine Erklärung für diese Klimaphänomene hat vielleicht Hervé Le Treut in Paris. Er ist Klimatologe, leitet ein Institut der Französischen Akademie der Wissenschaften. Besteht da ein Zusammenhang zwischen Hitze und Trockenheit in Russland und übermäßigen Monsunregen in Asien? Ist das vielleicht schon der Klimawandel?
Nein, es besteht kein direkter Zusammenhang, vielleicht ein indirekter, mehr komplex zu sehender. Ich denke, man muss grundsätzlich darauf achten, die Aspekte der Erscheinungen nicht mit Aspekten des sehr langfristig zu sehenden Klimawandels zu verwechseln. Wir stellen eine Veränderung im Klima fest, weil wir immer mehr ungewöhnliche meteorologische Ereignisse registrieren.
En partie sous l'effet du hasard des situations météorologiques.
Das Jahr 2010 wird schon das heißeste Jahr seit Beginn der Aufzeichnungen genannt. Ist Ihrer Meinung nach eine generelle Temperaturerhöhung die Ursache für die Hitze in Russland?
Qu'on ait une tendance à long terme au réchauffement et qu'on commence.
Langfristig sehen wir eine Tendenz zur Erwärmung. Etwa seit 30 Jahren zeigt sich das sehr deutlich in arktischen Regionen. Mit Sicherheit auch überall in großen Höhen auf der nördlichen Hemisphäre. Das Klimasystem ist ein sehr komplexes System, in dem auch immer außergewöhnliche Situationen vorkommen. Die können dem Zufall geschuldet sein. Diese Zufälle müssen sich aber häufen. Ein Zufall allein besagt gar nichts. Erst wenn sich aus vielen Zufällen eine langfristige Tendenz ergibt, wenn etwa Hitzerekorde in allen vergangenen Jahren auftraten, entspricht das den Modellen von der Wirkung erhöhter Treibhausgase.
Toutes ces dernières années, des records de chaleur va dans le sens de ce que prévoient les modèles en réponse à l'augmentation des gaz à effet de serre.
Meinen Sie also, dass wir häufigere Klimaextreme in den kommenden Jahren zu erwarten haben?
Auf der Grundlage der Vorhersagemodelle sind Hitzewellen häufiger zu erwarten. Die Aussage in den kommenden Jahren meint wohl eher in den kommenden Jahrzehnten. Eine Hitzewelle wie 2003 könnte ab 2050 alle paar Jahre wiederkommen, wenn die Tendenz, die wir mit unseren Treibhausgasmodellen ermitteln, sich als richtig erweist, was der Fall zu sein scheint. Man muss aber auch darauf achten, nicht die Zeitskala durcheinander zu bringen. Es handelt sich um Ereignisse, die über Jahrzehnte hin häufiger auftauchen werden, wenn man nichts tut.
Ist es zu früh, um die gegenwärtigen Katastrophen zu beurteilen, oder kann man daraus schon Lehren ziehen?
Ich glaube, die wichtigste Lehre besagt, dass die Umwelt ein sensibles System ist. Man muss den großen Problemen Priorität einräumen, die sich angesichts der Entwicklung des Planeten stellen. Das Klima ist ein wichtiger Teil davon, es hat enormen Einfluss. Es gibt auch andere Einflüsse, aber das Klima ist ein Problem, das bei der Entwicklung des Planeten berücksichtigt werden muss.
Le climat est un des enjeux à considérer pour la suite du développement de la planète.
Merci Hervé Le Treut.
Merci.
Weit vor der Sicherheitszone um Mayak entfernt. Das ist eines der größten Atommüllaufbereitungs- und Lagerzentren weltweit. Aber es frisst sich auch weiter vor.
Es hört einfach nicht auf zu brennen. Die Flammen verschlingen Dorf für Dorf und selbst Feuerwehrleute haben den Bränden kaum etwas entgegenzusetzen. Ihre Ausrüstung hat Museumswert. Daher sind viele Dorfbewohner beim Kampf gegen die Flammen ganz auf sich allein gestellt. Wir haben nicht genug Ausrüstung. Überall haben wir nachgefragt, vergeblich. Auch wenn Ministerpräsident Wladimir Putin so tut, als ob er an vorderster Front mitkämpft, sein Einsatz als Pilot eines Wasserflugzeuges bestenfalls ein PR-Termin, mehr nicht. Es scheint, als könne Russland das Feuer nur mit internationaler Hilfe in den Griff kriegen. Die Flammen sind längst nicht das Gefährlichste. Um Tscheljabinsk am Ural lodern allein 400 Feuer. Viele haben sich bereits an eine alte Wiederaufbereitungsanlage bei Osersk herangefressen.
Eine Feuerwalze nähert sich gerade der Wiederaufbereitungsanlage Mayak im Ural, Ort eines schweren Atomunglücks im Jahre 1957. Experten befürchten, dass der Feuersturm radioaktiv verseuchten Boden aufwirbeln und in andere Gegenden tragen könnte.
Umweltaktivisten und selbst die US-Regierung halten das inzwischen für ein sehr wahrscheinliches Szenario. Die Amerikaner warnen daher vor Reisen nach Russland.
And 4 other people. The 86-year-old and the rest of the group had been on their way to a fishing trip. The plane slammed into a mountain, but at this point, it's not clear why or how. Investigators are wondering if poor weather was a factor.
Good Samaritans helped save several survivors, including former NASA Chief Sean O'Keefe and his son.
Good evening. I'm Tavis Smiley, sitting in for Larry tonight. He's on vacation. We'll get right to now the latest on that deadly plane crash. CNN's Casey Wine joins me on the phone from Anchorage. CNN, of course, has been covering this story all day today, Casey, and you've been on top of it. Tell me what the latest is tonight regarding the death of former U.S. Senator Ted Stevens.
Well, we just heard a news briefing from Deborah Hersman. She's chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board. They just arrived into Alaska about the same time we did midday today, and got out to the closest town nearest to the crash site, but they're having great difficulty getting to the scene because it's in such a remote area. We're learning new details about what happened, at least in the aftermath of this crash. What they describe as a debris field of about 100 yards where the plane crashed into the side of a mountain about 1,000 feet up that mountain in a very remote area. They were on their way, and these 9 people on their way to a fishing camp, and they didn't return. The folks at the lodge that they left from had not heard from them. They were worried about what time they were going to come back for dinner, and when they didn't hear from them, they decided to send out rescue flights and to see if they could find this plane. And ultimately, some people flying over, locals, did spot the wreckage, and they described a scene that one of the pilots, the volunteer pilots we spoke with earlier today, said that he was shocked that there were actually any survivors of this flight. He said the plane looked like it just went straight into a mountain. The wings of the plane he described as being tipped back from the fuselage. He said the front of the plane, and the NTSB also confirmed this, was smashed in. Surprisingly, though, we learned that none of the 9 passengers aboard this plane were actually ejected. All of them stayed inside the fuselage of the plane. 4 survivors, 5 fatalities, including Senator Stevens, and one of those survivors, as you mentioned, Sean O'Keefe, the former administrator of NASA. It must have been a harrowing night for those folks who spent the night in that plane because rescuers were prevented from getting to the area because of the bad weather. A doctor was airlifted 1,000 feet away from the crash site, and she hiked up into the mountain to provide some comfort and aid to those survivors. They would not characterize, the NTSB would not characterize what those survivors told the doctor or told rescuers, but the 4 survivors are now back in Anchorage in the hospital, as well as the bodies of the 5 fatal victims.
Let me ask you 2 quick questions, Casey, before I let you go. The first question is, given what we know at this moment, and I recognize the investigation is just now beginning, does weather appear to be the culprit?
Well, the investigators are not saying anything about what the cause is going to be, and they say they're not going to make that determination for a long time. But the pilots that flew in the area said visibility was horrible, that the clouds in the area were down almost to the level of the crash scene. So it certainly seems that is going to be something that they will be looking into. The pilot in this incident, the NTSB said, had 29,000 hours of flight time. So he is an experienced pilot. They don't have all the information about what kind of avionics and electronic gear and crash avoidance mechanisms were on this plane. They say they're still gathering that information, and they're going to go back out to this crash site in the morning in hopes of getting more details.
Finally, right quick here, I know, again, this is just breaking news today, and we're going to talk to some Alaska officials here momentarily. But what's your sense, Casey, of how the people of Alaska are taking this? He's an icon in that state. Indeed, the airport you flew into today to cover the story for CNN is called the Ted Stevens Airport. What's your sense of how the people of Alaska are handling this news literally of just hours ago?
Well, one gentleman who we spoke with earlier as we got off the plane ourselves, who actually said he knew former Senator Ted Stevens, says it's a big loss for Alaska. He was a great champion for this state. A lot of folks here felt like he got a bad deal in terms of the congressional ethics investigations that were eventually vacated by Eric Holder because of prosecutorial misconduct. Many people here are strong supporters of Ted Stevens, and they are very sad at his passing.
We're going to, Casey, first of all, thank you for the reports tonight. I know you'll stay on top of the story. Good to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take our first break here. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Major Guy Hayes, who is the Public Affairs Officer for the Alaska National Guard, talk about their role from this moment forward. We'll do more of that in just a moment when we continue here on CNN's Larry King Live. Welcome back. I'm Tavis Smiley, sitting in for Larry King tonight. Major Guy Hayes is the public affairs officer for the Alaska National Guard. He joins us via phone. Major Hayes, good to have you on the program, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Let me start by asking about these Good Samaritan pilots we've been hearing about who found the wreckage. What can you tell me about those persons who first laid eyes on this crash?
Well, I don't know a lot about who they are, but they definitely helped in the search and recover there. They let the 11 p.m. last night, and that provided us the opportunity to get our Alaska Air National Guardsmen out on scene as quickly as possible.
So what role at this point is the National Guard playing in the rescue and recovery effort?
Well, the Alaska National Guard, in conjunction with the Coast Guard, NTSB, the Alaska State Troopers, we all worked together out there. We were able to get the survivors, the 4 survivors from the aircraft, back to Anchorage this afternoon to Providence Hospital. We were also able to transport the deceased back to Elmendorf Air Force Base, and that's where they're currently located.
And quickly, I keep asking this question to see if anybody knows anything more than the person we've spoken to already. Do you know anything about the cause of the crash, or whether or not weather was one of the major reasons?
Well, I'm sure that's something the NTSB is going to investigate, and then that's going to be part of their investigation. But, you know, one of the things that we know here as Alaskans, poor weather always remains a factor when you're flying out here, because it's a huge state and there's a lot of area to cover, and weather can change drastically. Low cloud cover. This morning, trying to get in there was very difficult because of the visibility and the rain and the heavy wind, so it definitely could have played a role.
I know you have work to do, Major Hayes. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir.
Decorated World War II veteran, Senator Ted Stevens devoted his career to serving the people of Alaska and fighting for our men and women in uniform. Michelle and I extend our condolences to the entire Stevens family and to the families of those who perished alongside Senator Stevens in this terrible accident. That from the Obamas. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
The astronauts are in the airlock ready to exit. They're about to begin a second spacewalk that will hopefully fix a cooling pump on the International Space Station. These pictures show their first excursion on Saturday. That spacewalk lasted 8 hours and 3 minutes, one of the longest in the history of space flight. Meanwhile, NASA's former chief is in hospital in critical condition after a plane crash in the U.S. state of Alaska. That crash killed 5 people, including Ted Stevens, the longest-serving Republican in U.S. Senate history. It happened in rugged terrain near the remote town of Dillingham. Casey Wyan is in Anchorage with more on the crash. And Casey, what more do we know about, I guess, what happened to this plane and why it took so long for rescuers to get to them?
Well, the terrain is the big issue, and the weather also. Some of those, the victims of that, the survivors of that plane crash, were in that plane and stranded in that area for as much as 12 hours before they were able to get help. Now, we spoke yesterday with a pilot who was one of the first people to fly over the area and actually identify the crash site, and he described what it looked like as a plane that had just gone almost straight into a very steep mountain. He described the terrain there as very rocky, very rugged, and they also described the terrain as really inhospitable to flying. That's what you can say about a lot of Alaska. That's because there's so much great distances here and not good roads between some of the cities. Flying is the only way for a lot of folks to get around. We spoke with that pilot yesterday, and he said that it looked like that plane was flying in very low clouds. The cloud level at the time he overflew the crash site was almost down to the level of the crash site, about 1,000 feet up that hill. And here's what he had to say about flying in conditions in Alaska.
It was pretty smashed. The wings were laying beside the fuselage on each side, and I couldn't see the floats. The floats were underneath it, and I couldn't see anything in the front of the airplane. From the window forward was the cowling and everything was gone. I didn't think it was survivable. It looked pretty. From where he hit to where the airplane came to rest was probably just 100 feet, 150 feet maybe.
Remarkably, the fuselage remained largely intact, according to investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board. And when rescuers finally arrived in the area, they spotted one of the survivors actually walking around the crash site. One of the issues that's come out is that we found that the medical personnel were actually airlifted in there and had some difficult time reaching that crash site. A doctor spent the night up there in the area. She was airlifted into the area and had to hike through about 1,000 feet of brush to reach the victim. She was equipped with a satellite phone, but it must have been a very, very difficult and long night in those extreme conditions for those survivors. And we talk about the terrain in Alaska. Former Alaska Senator Ted Stevens talked about that often. He was involved in a crash many years ago, back in the 1970s, that killed his first wife. In an interview not too long after that, Senator Stevens called flying and crashes an occupational hazard of serving in politics in Alaska, and he feared that he might actually meet the same fate, which unfortunately it turns out that he did. State officials spoke yesterday, National Guard personnel, about the conditions that they often encounter flying in Alaska.
One of the things that we know here as Alaskans, poor weather always remains a factor when you're flying out here, because it's a huge state and there's a lot of area to cover, and weather can change drastically. Low cloud cover. This morning, trying to get in there was very difficult because of the visibility and the rain and the heavy wind, so it definitely could have played a role.
And investigators will be going back up to that crash site, at least trying to get to that crash site, weather permitting, later today. They're still obviously at the very preliminary stages of this investigation. Two factors that they're clearly looking at are weather and the terrain. Manita?
Okay. Casey Wyan in Anchorage, thank you so much.